Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your host, TV Scouting MMA, and
The Guru back again for UFC Vegas 97 from the amazing Apex Arena. We've got Gilbert Dorino Burns taking on Sean Brady in your welterweight main event. And in your co-main event, you've got Jessica Andrade taking on Natalia Silva. Is she the next big thing in women's MMA? Well, we might just find out this Saturday. But before we can get into that, we've got a very special guest in the building. Make sure you're subscribed to his YouTube channel over there, MMA Wheezy. We got Uncle fucking Wheezy in the building. Everyone's favorite uncle. Let's cash those fucking tickets, baby. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good, man. This is a good card. I don't know how good it is from a gambling perspective, but from a fan perspective, it's great.
Yes, exactly. I literally said this same exact thing to TB. I was like, this card is noticeably better from the last one that we have in terms of a quality from a fan perspective, but I wasn't sure that there wasn't there really wasn't so much meat on the bones, I felt. And after 2 weeks, these lines just get cooked and cooked and cooked because everybody's just itching to bet some UFC.
Yeah. You give the market an extra week to kind of research things, and then everything gets a little bit tougher to play. We know how sharp everyone is out there, and we know that the markets are getting sharper as they progress. So it gets hard to find spots when you give everybody 2 weeks to research.
Well, Uncle Weezy's is the sharpest uncle in all of MMA Twitter. So make sure you're following, and that's exactly why we brought you on, man, because we gotta out sharpen these sharp motherfucking cockroach bookies. Right, TB?
we got to get after it, baby, because we got to get cooking here to close out the year. Make sure you guys are joining us live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you got something, get to drinking it. If you're doing something else, get to smoking it. But we're here, the best bets, the best guests, always free picks. So make sure you guys, if you haven't already, please throw a like on the video. Helps us out a ton. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We love to have a good time and break down some fights. So here we go. In the main event, we've got Gilbert Dorino Burns at plus 154 versus the Bull, or Sean the Bull Brady at minus 185. Damn it, he messed up. All right, so in this matchup here, we got Gilbert Burns, who's been given a proper nickname, and Sean Brady, who's been given a butchered nickname by TV. But the other important thing to note is that they're coming in basically even in height and reach, but Brady's going to have be 7 years younger in this matchup. And taking a look into just their tape, some of their tendencies, it seems like Burns, he can get taken down here and there. He's tough as anyone to control. And then Sean Brady, his whole game is built on control, grappling pressure. And then when he's on the feet, it's kind of like, a little bit of a boxing style, some feints, some kicks. And Burns, I don't know, it's kind of similar idea, but with a bit more aggression and swinging hooks. So in this matchup, I kind of favor the Brady side. I think in the clinch, he's the naturally larger guy. Burns has moved up, previously the 155er. And I think that this is going to be one of those matchups where we can kind of see that difference when Brady tries to get his pace going. The question is, what does Brady's cardio look like over 5 rounds? Burns, what type of cardio is he going to have for this matchup? And if it does play out on the feet for 15 to 25 minutes here, who's going to be having the most success? I kind of rated Brady's striking as not too bad. I mean, he kind of was winning and probably won the first round against Bilal, and eventually he starts eating a bit too many strikes in these exchanges. But I mean, Bilal, current champion, look at the issues he gave Leon Edwards with his pressure and kind of working around the guard with his boxing. So, Burns, I know he kind of goes the distance, but going into that matchup, it was a short notice. Burns injures his shoulder round 1. Bilal comes in with a janky ankle, and here we are going the distance. So overall, I don't think Brady is going to be submitting Burns. I don't think he's going to be knocking out Burns. But for that reason, at minus 185, even if I'm picking Sean Brady here, I'm not sure that there's a ton of value. And I kind of lean, like, if you were going to be on the Burns side, I'd expect him to find a finish. So I'm on Brady. I kind of think the fight's going. You're probably getting nearly plus money there. And I think that could be super interesting. So that's my kind of angle on the fight here. I'll be picking Brady, but going to be a little bit more selective on some of the bets that I'm placing. So let's see where I end up. It could be like a Brady decision for a fun little sprinkle.
What an interesting fight. Excellent main event. Sean Brady was supposed to have, I believe, the main event in Atlantic City, but had to pull out due to injury. You've got somebody here in Gilbert Burns who has now quietly become a gatekeeper, right? Didn't stop Bilal Muhammad, now champion, right? Didn't stop Jack Della Maddalena. Gonna be headed towards title eliminator very shortly. Now you got Sean Brady, same idea. Can you close the gate on Sean Brady? And my original thought was that maybe he could, right? That perhaps the wrestling would negate, right? And maybe you just come down to some striking or something of that nature. But I really had to stop and think about it. And I felt that what if the jiu-jitsu negates? Sean Brady is a solid jiu-jitsu practitioner, right? So what if the jiu-jitsu negates? And Sean Brady doesn't care, and he's still ready to wrestle Gilbert Burns. Then what? And I just thought that was an interesting pontification on my part. And then I think that it's very possible that Sean Brady feels very safe in those standpoints and won't matter or won't mind, especially later on in the fight. Sean Brady, now hear me out, is kind of a technical striker, right? Sure, his striking defense leaves a lot to be desired, but there is like just some technical, prowess to his boxing. And, you got to give credit to where he's training at over in Philly. But, I'm not exactly rushing to the window here to play Sean Brady 2-1. But what if I told you that Gilbert Burns quietly has now lost 5 of his last 7 fights? We can talk till we're blue in the face or about, or 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of his last 7. I can't count. But obviously we can talk a little blue in the face about but whatever. I can't count. It's been a long day, man.
Some things haven't changed. It's okay. It's all right.
It's fine. But okay, we can talk about the quality of his losses, right? But we got to still talk about the quality of his wins. It's Wonderboy Thompson, Neil Magny, and Jorge Masvidal. Not guys at the tail end of their career here. So Sean Brady is not that guy. He's not at the tail end of his career.
So you're taking the young bull.
You didn't call him the young bull. You just
I just thought of it now. I just thought of that now.
That's at least a little better because you're giving like a little flavor. The bull is just kind of lazy, which is just kind of the typical TBMO. But we've talked enough. I absolutely like where you ended up though with the over. Uncle Weezy, what do the stats say? What do you say? Give it to us, please.
So there's been quite a few main events recently over the last few months in the UFC where I've kind of fallen into the trap of betting on the older guy that I think is more well-tested, that I think has fought the better brand of competition, that I think might have more paths to victory, right? Cannonier last week, I figured my read on that Cannonier fight was his grappling's better than everyone thinks it is, and that Kaio's wrestling isn't going to be able to keep him down. I said, man, if Cannonier keeps this fight standing, he's going to look good at plus 225. He kept the fight standing, but man, Kaio's striking wound up being even better than I thought it would be. And I wound up there on Edson Barbosa when I took him over Luan Murphy. I wound up there in a couple of other spots recently where I just felt like that veteran, that this younger fighter was going to have to pass a test, and we're going to have to see how they wind up showing up for that test. I'm winding up on the same damn side here again, and maybe it's because I'm old. Maybe it's because I'm thinking as a 50-year-old man that, hey, these older guys, they still got something left in the tank. I don't know if that's just why I do it to myself, but I'm here again, and here's why, right? I go through the career of Gilbert Burns, and I've seen him fight Sean Brady about 4 or 5 different times, right? I've seen him not let Sean Brady wrestle, right? What happened when Damian Maia took down Gilbert Burns twice? You guys remember? Anyone?
Yeah, it's like Scramble City and right back up.
That's right. That's right. As a matter of fact, you can go and look at the Michel Prazeres fight. You can look at the Rashid Magomedov fight. You can look at almost any grappler that this guy has been in there. Hamzat Chimaev, right? How did Hamzat do in the wrestling against Gilbert Burns? He did not have much success at all, frankly. He got a couple of takedowns. Was he able to hold him down? No. So I ask this question. If Sean Brady is unable to have success in the grappling, how does this fight go?
I think you're asking a wonderful question, and my thought is kind of similar to the Usman fight, but of course less power. He won't need it. He just will have the threat of it, and if the threat of it is enough, if Gilbert feels that the threat enough, he'll be a little tentative on his output. And right there, that'll be enough for Sean Brady to just kind of push forward, because we've already seen that Gilbert Burns doesn't have the striking acumen that Bilal Muhammad has, which again, Bilal Muhammad's the one that put the pace and the pressure and that striking acumen on Sean Brady. But by the way, that was also in Abu Dhabi. So this is smaller cage. I just think it's just his time.
Yeah,
you know,
I also feel,
Burns could have taken a career-changing beating versus Jack Della Maddalena, and I was holding that Burns ticket, and I am still gutted for him. I mean, Burns, I would never. I mean, I would never say a bad thing about that man. He is a legend for life. I don't even care that I lost, 2 units on that. Like, legend, deserves it. So.
Yeah, see, I don't see it for the striking on the Sean Brady side. I think that Burns is going to be much more powerful. I think he's going to be the better striker in this matchup. And that's why I'm backing him here, because I don't see Brady getting takedowns and holding him down. There's a few things working against Sean here. He's fought twice since the end of 2022. He's been extremely inactive. He's been racked with injuries, and he hasn't stayed busy. He's fighting old guys too. Burns isn't beating young guys. He's beating Kelvin Gastelum, who's just not great at this point. I'm sorry, Kelvin Gastelum this is 2024. He's not a great fighter anymore. Michael Chiesa is completely washed up. Jake Matthews is a young guy who's been around the block. Sean Brady's striking just hasn't been tested at as high of a level as it's going to be tested against Gilbert. And frankly, Gilbert's the best grappler that he's faced too. Big step up in competition here for Brady. I don't like the activity. We've never seen him go 5 rounds. We've seen Burns go 5 rounds several different times. I don't think Brady's going to have any grappling success here. I think if he pushes the grappling too much, he's going to wind up tired in the second half of the fight. And since he's never been into the championship rounds, I think that could affect him as well. I'm going with Gilbert Burns by decision here. I'm probably going to get to a money line bet and just say one of these fucking weeks an old guy is going to win a goddamn fight. And maybe this will be the time. But, I'm not going to be surprised if Brady pulls this off, because I know that he is going to be able to hang in the striking exchanges. I don't think this is a whitewash on the feet at all. And if he can find some spots where he is able to rack up some control time, make Gilbert wear his weight, and if he is able to have some success in those grappling exchanges, I think this fight will look a little bit better for Brady. I need to see it, though. I need to see somebody actually go out there and beat Gilbert Burns in a grappling match, out wrestle him, win minutes on the ground against him. And until I actually see that with my own eyes, I'm not going to believe it can happen. So I think that Gilbert's going to win the striking exchanges here and win this fight.
Yeah, that's fair. And I envision the striking playing out. I don't know, a bit more on the Brady side here, just on a speed thing at this point. And he plays a little bit more safe defensively than some of the guys that have gotten into wars with Gilbert. He uses the jab well. He was looking like okay against Bilal before he got away, and it was also a standing TKO. Like he didn't fully get knocked out. I know it didn't look great, but one could argue an early stoppage out there in Abu Dhabi, traveling out first time out there. and facing a guy like Bilal who just started taking roids in the Khabib camp at that point. So I don't know. I think it was a big changing point.
All right.
All right. I'm sorry. Anyways,
Enough with your bullshit.
I'll be on the young bull. Shout out to the chat here. Always the best guest. We bring on the Wheezy. You know how it is. We got to have the best guys in the building. What's going on, Glenn? Listen, I'm trying to do my best to shorten the slate here. I appreciate Dogfather. Good man. And yeah, close to a Brady play. I probably need it closer to like a minus 160, minus 150 for me to actually think about taking a money line. Grateful, dude. We're grateful for you. Happy you can make it live today. And yeah, Burns inside the distance. That would be the way I would want to play him. I think, I feel like Brady, if it is going to look that bad for him, I think Burns should get a finish then. But look at the Wonder Boy fight. Sometimes things happen. Yeah, Burns should win. But yeah, he did talk about being near the end last run.
He is.
I don't know. Wheezy, listen, I feel for you, man. I feel for you.
I've been there, man. I've made this bet several times and it's not working out. Maybe I'm not learning my lesson here, but yeah, Brady's younger. But you know what? Brady's body might be older than Gilbert's right now because this guy's not getting to the cage.
That's true.
That's the fucking truth.
There's a couple of things I'll say there is that I've made that mistake a couple times. That last week with Cannonier was not one of them. And one of the reasons was because, like, again, I just kind of felt that the way the fight would play out is that there would just be enough threat and then pace over time. And then sometimes with a guy like Sean Brady, it's like, okay, well, he hasn't been in the cage. Like, are we worried about that? Part of me is like, dude has good management. He's taking a fight now because he's fucking healthy, right? Like he's taken 6 months off from pulling out of a main event, which by the way was going to be a quick turnaround after beating Kelvin Gastelum for 15 minutes, which he's has admittedly been not a super healthy guy. So I'm thinking he's healthy. Apex main events, they love to give guys that are unproven Apex main events because it's a great chance to showcase these young guys that they want to be able to do 5 rounds.
All right. I think we get the point. We got some flags planted.
We beat the shit out of that fight. That was awesome.
Yeah. And always appreciate the in-depth breakdowns, but we got the pile driver, Batistaca, Jessica Andrade, plus 250 versus Natalia Killa Silva, minus 310. I think this should be a great matchup in Silva. Finally, the bigger fighter for like the first time in her UFC career, getting a 3-inch height, 3-inch reach advantage. Typically the smaller fighter, typically the faster, more athletic fighter. And I think she's going to be the faster fighter and she's going to be the bigger fighter here. I was interested a bit initially in the Andrade side, but I don't trust
always
her enough.
are. You have a little crush on her. It's okay. We all know.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, I think she's a very exciting fighter with high finishing potential. But in this matchup, I don't think I trust her enough to get to the wrestling game that she's going to need to. And if she's coming in the pocket wildly swinging and not moving her head, well, I mean, I've seen what Silva can do. So ultimately, I think Silva is going to be able to cover her money line if she finds a finish here. Now, if this fight extends out and you're not putting away Andrade, well, yeah, that's why I'm not going to be lying minus 310 here. But ultimately, I mean, I'm picking the Silva side. I think her kicks come out of nowhere. Andrade, even though she kind of like bobs now a tiny bit, like going into that second Rose fight, she tried showing a little head movement. It still wasn't actually effective. So it's all good. Yeah, Pink, late, but you're just in time for the first WMMA breakdown of the night here. I think we agree. We're on the Killa Silva side. What's going on, Mushroom? I was waiting for the other ones too. Wheezy OB said what's up to in another second once Mushroom types it in between puffs of the cigarette. But Guru, what do you got in this matchup? I like Silva probably by finish.
Yeah, listen, we all know you're feeling Andrade early, but I definitely like Silva in this spot. I just feel like Andrade, has a lot of mental stuff coming into this as she has in a lot of her fights. She smashes Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern can't move her head. Wasn't back with Perillo yet. Marina Rodriguez kind of life or death in that spot. Needs a fucking takedown on the turtle to seal it. Just somebody that you watch her fight a solid counter striker in Yan Jianan, and she goes down bad. Right? She's fighting Aaron Blanchfield, and I know that fight's on short notice, and she's clearly got no game plan. But it's like, take the offensive grappling to her, and she could have a problem. I think Natalia Silva not only could cover her equity, by winning a decision over with some volume, but I honestly do think that she's fairly live for a finish here. I do think that she's the next big thing, and I'm excited to see what she's got. And shit, if Andrade puts her down, more power to her. Make that BMF fight with Young Jacek or something. Who the fuck knows what's next?
She's just trying to make that body.
I mean, it's handsome versus beauty. It's the age-old. Who do you take? Do you take the handsome fighter, or do you take the very
we all know where TV's going.
Fighter?
TV likes handsome.
I know he look, I like handsome too, dude. I think that Jessica has been, a reliable fighter over a 27 fight span in the UFC. She's 17-10. You add up the records of her opponents. Jessica Andrade has faced a UFC level of competition that's 211 wins and 132 losses. On the Natalia Silva side, it's 18 wins and 19 losses. So let's face it, big step up in competition here for Natalia Silva. And stylistically, this is very interesting because, Jessica is a bull. She goes forward. She has to pressure. She doesn't have any choice but to fight that way. She's 5'1" with a 62-inch reach. She's not going to sit at range and try to win a point fighting battle with you. She has to move forward. She has to get her opponent on the back foot. She has to mix in the wrestling, and she's got to throw with those power hooks that she has. So Natalia's done a very good job of dealing with pressure thus far in the UFC. But she hasn't dealt with the combination of pressure and striking that she's dealt with yet. She's dealt with pressure from Bleda. She dealt with pressure from Jasdavicius. But she didn't deal with neither of those ladies could strike their way out of a paper bag. But Lee and Araujo can. They're better strikers than Bleda and Jasdavicius, but we didn't see as much grappling from them in those matchups. So I kind of feel like Andrade can bring the pressure to get Natalia on the back foot, and she could potentially mix in some takedowns here to win some minutes on the cage, to win some minutes on the mat, and she can maybe find her way into the pocket and land some bombs. If you watch that Marina Rodriguez fight, you see that Andrade is pressuring early, and she's trying to be intelligent with it, and Marina's just picking her apart with the straight punches and the kicks. And then at some point, like I think 9 minutes into the fight, Jessica said, fuck this. I'm just going to start running at her. And she literally started running at her, and it looked like a schoolyard fight, where one person was running away and the other person was running towards them. And Jessica started landing some fucking bombs. And even though she got outworked for the first 3.5, 4 minutes of round two, she won that round by closing strong, getting her on the back foot, cutting off the cage, and landing some big shots. So I think that we're just going to see Natalia do what she always does. Skirt around the outside of the cage, be a very precise counter striker, use great defensive movement, be a very difficult target to find, use those kicks to maintain range. And I think she's going to have success with it. I'm going to pick her to win this fight by decision. But I think the Jessica Andrade plus 3.5 points handicap at plus 115, I think she could get a takedown at some point. I think she can land a bomb at some point. And I think optically, Jess is going to be moving forward and Natalia is going to be running away from her in a smaller cage. I think that's going to look good on the Andrade side. Much tougher level of competition. She's way more experienced at the UFC level overall as well. She's fought the way better brand of competition. So I think Andrade plus 3.5 at plus 115 is a good look this week. But I'm picking Natalia Silva to win because her striking is just so fucking good.
I also thought this was super interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Silva hasn't been finished, right?
She's been finished 3 times actually, but
well,
not at the UFC level, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like some of those earlier in the career ones where, as she improved, okay, hopefully. But if we do see this go to decision and Jessica Andrade is using wrestling and not finding a finish, well, yeah, I mean, a 6-1 is probably better than the plus 250 in that regard. But I'll probably pass on that from that perspective. Yeah, poor Andrade. Yeah, I do feel bad for her from a personal perspective. And where's Kim Winslow? Good question. All right, we're moving on here. We've got the Mean Machine or the Meme Machine. You tell me which one. It's Steve Garcia, minus 185 versus the Monster, Kyle Nelson, friend of the channel. Or maybe not after we took Bill Algeo last fight when we interviewed him for the Bill Algeo fight. Facepalm. Anyways, all right, so ultimately the question here is like Steve Garcia, if he's winning this fight, it's by round 1, round 2 knockout. And looking into the Kyle Nelson previous knockout losses, they seem to be a bit more of like a pace, cardio, pressure, and coming a little bit like Diego, round 2 or so, and then round 3 to kick it off from Billy Q. But I mean, I think Kyle kind of changed things up from a nutrition perspective, easier weight cuts, looking like he's having better cardio and a bit more of like a game plan out there, crushing calf kicks, does a good job of using his power to dissuade other people from coming forward. It's just like Steve Garcia does not care about what you're bringing back on the other side. He's a freight train. He's a meme machine. And I can't take minus 185. You got a better price last time against a fighter with a worse chin in Sang-Woo Choi. I think Nelson is a way better fighter. He's slated to face Calvin Kattar in this matchup originally. And Garcia comes in on short notice after a fantastic knockout win in his last fight. It's just, what if Nelson wrestles? He probably does it easily and he probably gets control, and I think his cardio is fine. So I'm leaning towards a dog shot here, plus 154. I am interested, and I think the over 1.5 at plus 135. I think if you're leaning towards that, it means you're leaning towards the Nelson side, and damn it, I think I am. So, but Steve Garcia has been knocked down just one less time than he's landed a knockdown at 6-5. So expect chaos here no matter what. It could be Dicey taking it over 1.5. Guru?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of echo the same sentiments, and just the fact, like, when you're watching Steve Garcia fight, I mean,
Dude,
he
your audio,
has.
Tuffy.
I'm sorry?
I don't know if you changed anything on your end internet-wise. It's just been a little choppy. I'm just giving you the heads up.
Yeah, my internet really fucking sucks.
Yeah, fair enough. Didn't know if you had anything else streaming on the same internet or anything like that, so figure,
Nope.
Who knows, but fair enough. Just wanted to let you know, Skeeta. Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. Is it any better at the moment?
Tiny bit. Go for it.
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments. Feel like Kyle Nelson's going to be sharper in the chaos. I feel like his durability is underrated, or perhaps questioned a little too much. I feel like he showed his ability to fight in a firefight versus Bill Algeo. So, yeah, give me a dog shot here. I think you said it right already, TB, about the line. So, Wheezy, agreement or disagreement?
Disagreement. But first of all, I think the best parlay piece of the week is the under 1.5 rounds here. We've got a guy in Steve Garcia. You guys know the stats, right? I mean, like, Steve Garcia's got 37 minutes of cage time. Only 6.8 minutes of those 37.8 minutes have been spent at distance striking range. In that time, he's landed 6 knockdowns and absorbed 5. 11 knockdowns in Steve Garcia fights in less than 7 minutes of distance striking time. Do that math. You're going to understand that when this guy comes into the cage, it's like a fucking tornado being in there. And somebody is going to get mud holes punched through their face in this fight. And it's going to happen in under 7.5 minutes. And because it's going to happen in under 7.5 minutes, Kyle Nelson's going to die. This is a guy who absolutely thrives in that chaos, and the power differential between Steve Garcia and Kyle Nelson is massive. Absolutely massive. Look, People will voluntarily strike with Kyle Nelson for 15 minutes. No fucking problem. You got, dude, Melchizedek Costa is a phenomenal kickboxer. That dude wanted nothing. He wanted none of the striking exchanges against Steve Garcia. And as soon as there were striking exchanges, he got mud holes punched into his face. Kyle doesn't have the kind of power to hang with Steve early in a fight. The fact that Steve is a southpaw makes it even worse. And Steve's kicks are so much better than Kyle's kicks, in my opinion. He's really underrated, Steve Garcia. I think his grappling game is pretty good, and I don't think Kyle is going to be able to slow this down with his wrestling. Steve's pretty well-rounded. He can grapple a little bit. He's shown actually 79% takedown defense in the UFC, but Kyle only gets his takedowns in the UFC at 20%. So I don't think he's going to be able to take down Steve and hold him down. And as a result of that, I think that there's going to be a lot of distance striking exchanges early. And as a result of that, I think somebody's going to get knocked out. I think Garcia gets the knockout, but under 1.5 rounds at minus 185 is how I would play this. If you're agnostic about somebody getting served, but that somebody will get served, it's a great parlay piece this week. And that's one that's in the probability parlay this week. And Uncle Wheezy's ass shaving of the week is Steve Garcia to shave the ass of Kyle Nelson.
Oh, baby. Shaving that ass. Kyle Nelson, look out. You could be due for a makeover. So, listen.
His ass is going to be as clean as his head, ladies and gentlemen.
I would like to clarify, I have not placed a bet yet on this fight. And I could tell, like, if you're taking Steve Garcia, baby, it's round 1, round 2 by knockout. So, I think that I'll probably have to be considering some things because you can definitely see the fight playing both ways, you know, like from that perspective, even though I lean towards the Nelson in my breakdown, if I wasn't texting Guru all week that I don't know if Nelson's about that life and you got to take Garcia round 1, round 2 instead of his money line, well, that's the damn truth, right? So here we are. We're moving on. We're trying to nail it down. We've got Danger, Matt Schnell versus Cody Tyler Durden, packing his bags, driving up with his wife. We're here to make a statement. UFC Vegas. It's about to be a throwdown. 135 instead of 125 for these two fine gentlemen. And my question is, well, what does that do for Mr. Danger's chin in this matchup? All of a sudden, doesn't have to cut down quite as much, but already was like in shape for a fight here. I don't know. Could be interesting. Guru, what do you got cooking here?
I've got a dog cooking here. This makes no fucking sense to me. We got Dan Tom in the building and Ghost in the building. Are you kidding me? All right, boys, listen to this. Why is Cody Durden minus 300 here? I don't understand. The dude has gotten finished in his last 2 fights. He's taking this fight on short notice after getting absolutely schmammied by Bruno Silva, right? I know he was winning most of the fight there, but it doesn't matter. He got obliterated by an uppercut, some knees, and crazy elbow ground and pound. He took damage like within the last 2 months. Like, this is crazy. And Matt Schnell has taken plenty of time off. I mean, I know it doesn't matter. He has no chin. He has 0 chin, and he's old. Like, I get all of it. But you have to hear me out here. Durden, who just got knocked out, has been submitted how many times? 4 times? 5 times? Schnell is fucking live here. And he's bigger than Cody. And let's be honest, I know Cody hits hard because you could see the effects of it on Bruno Silva. But come on, man. He doesn't hit as hard as some of these other guys. So give me a chance on Matt Schnell. Save your career, Matt. Come on. We all want to see you keep fighting. Do not hang up your gloves inside the Apex. Come out here and take out Cody Tyler Durden. Am I crazy?
We got the dog in the building. Wheezy, what do you got?
You know, I don't think Schnell by sub is a bad look. I mean, Cody Durden loves getting subbed out there. You know, he's been subbed a number of different times. Even when he doesn't get subbed, he almost got subbed by Hadley. That armbar was nasty. And, Cody is a great wrestler. He's going to wind up probably getting some takedowns on Schnell, who has 50% takedown defense in the UFC. But Schnell's got a really good triangle from his back. So perhaps we could see Schnell lock up a submission here if Cody chooses to wrestle. But I was really impressed by Cody's striking last time out against Bruno Silva. I had that under 2.5 rounds at plus 205 there, and that cashed. And it was because I knew that Bruno Silva's got massive power. So even though Cody got knocked out last time, let's not go putting Matt Schnell's power in the same, on the same level as somebody like Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva is a finisher of the highest order, whether it's with his opportunistic submission game, whether it's with the power in his hands. That guy's got real finishing power. Schnell, not so much at this level. He's more of a submission guy. But it just so happens that plays really well into what Durden gets caught in sometimes. So I think maybe an under here, you guys. Not necessarily like the 1.5, but maybe the fight doesn't go to decision. Maybe the under 2.5. You got to remember, I don't like playing these fights because even though Cody Durden just had to pack his bags and drive to Vegas and he doesn't have a corner man and he's got his wife with him, it's still just as new for him as it is for Matt Schnell, because Matt Schnell was going to be facing somebody in Costa who wasn't going to wrestle at all, who's got a little bit more power than Cody. So it's a completely different matchup for Matt Schnell as well. So I think that these are high variance fights, and I tend not to gamble on them. But because Durden's striking looked a lot better last time out against Silva, and because Schnell could be live to get a submission, and because we know that Schnell is chinny at this point in his career, maybe a fight doesn't go to decision is the best way to play this one.
Yeah, could be. That probably is the best place to look. I don't think that over-under is actually real. I was looking for the lines, but they weren't up on DraftKings at the moment when I was looking earlier.
I think you got a 1.5, right?
Is that anywhere near correct what I had up here? I don't think.
I got an under 1.5 here for what? Under 1.5 plus 160.
Oh,
over
okay.
1.5 minus 200, but it's a 1.5. So I'm not going to play a 1.5, but that's what they got on Bet Online.
I actually did the right thing when I looked it up earlier. All right, fair enough. Thank you for the confirmation. The line moved a tiny bit, but at least I was in the ballpark. All right, here we go. We got Trevor Sneak Peek versus Red Fox Yanal Ashmuz. Oh boy, this is the matchup of a lifetime here. Watching the line movement all week has been hilarious. I've been wrong every time I've tried to think about where I was going next. And where I'm going next, it's Trevor Peek time. Take a sneak peek. I got a play here on Trevor. I just think Ashmuz, he doesn't have the volume to cover the craziness and cardio that Peek's going to bring. I think Ashmuz is extremely finish dependent. And even without breaking his arm versus Duncan, it's, you would have liked to see him do a little something different or try something out. I get it. He toughed it out. He made it the distance. Great job. But I mean, we've seen like when someone really wants to get after it, they can find a different way to set up their attack. I don't think Ashmuz really has this gigantic technical advantage in this matchup, because I think that Peek, while he looks a bit sloppy and crazy, he's going to make up that difference with his persistence, his cardio, and his willingness to scramble, to not just like give up on any position or point in the fight. And I think that pressure ultimately breaks Yanal Ashmuz down the stretch. I'm not sure if it's a finish. I'm not sure if it's a decision. Peek could choose the top control, boring wrestling. Like, I think Charlie Campbell had way better grappling and wrestling than a guy like Yanal Ashmuz, and I think he was way bigger too. So I got Peek here. I think he's getting a step down in competition, and this is probably like, I don't think they would get rid of Trevor Peek, but if Ashmuz loses this, I mean, what do they do with this guy? So ultimately, I'll take Peek minus 120. I took minus 125 because I just couldn't do it right. But here we go. We'll see what happens. Guru, you on the train?
You've put me on the train, and at the end of the day, I should maybe get off the train and just like not plant a flag in this shit show of a matchup. But we love to plant a flag and say that we're right or figure out why we're wrong.
Playable line. Like basically, it's something that you feel comfortable betting on because at the end of the day, it's a line that you can afford to play that you'll actually at least make something on it. Like if Trevor Peaks minus 200, you think I'm not trying to find a way to bet Ash moves at like plus 180 or something? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But I think it's
okay, can you
appropriate here.
but slow. You're just like making things up though. Like it's just that I'm not sure that at minus 120 found a real edge. But again, it's just like, yeah, I get it. Like Yanal probably needs a finish, and Trevor Peak is probably unfinishable. So it's like, can Peak, throw his axe hammer fists and get a little bit more wrestling going? But yeah, I get it. No, I agree with you, Dogfather.
Peekaboo,
So
baby. Sneak peek.
I definitely
Weezy,
lean
what do you
Peak.
got here?
Yeah, we got to put on the chef hat, and we do have to let us cook here. Dogfather's absolutely right, man. It's about making money in the long term, and it's about getting your ego out of the way as a gambler and taking advantage of mispriced lines when they happen, and knowing that if you do that correctly over a long enough time span, that you're going to be positive, you're going to make money. Boy, but in finding an edge in this fight's tough. I don't feel like I really know what Yanal Ashmos really brings to the table at this level, right? I think he's pretty good everywhere. I think he's got a little bit of power. I think he's a tough dude. I think he can mix in the grappling. What I really like from Yanal is the ground and pound. When he gets on top of dudes, he stays very active. He lands a lot of damage, and he has the ability to hold his opponents down and land damage. I like that a lot. The problem is that when I've watched Trevor Peak fight, that when this guy gets taken down, that you just cannot hold him down. He just never stops moving. He never stops fighting. He never fucks off. He never stops putting you on your back foot. He never fucking quits. He never does anything that you want him to do as your opponent. He doesn't let you take a breath either. So I've got to lean with Peak. I think he's just going to do more. I think that if Yanal takes him down, Trevor's going to get back up and just make him work. I'm wondering what Yanal's conditioning is going to look like, because he looks like he's packed on a little bit of muscle. Looks like he's been saying his prayers, and taking his vitamins with his man Hulk Hogan. And he looks pretty juiced up right now. So I don't know, man. If he tries to mix in wrestling and doesn't have success with it, Trevor might break him late. I have a feeling this fight's going to finish inside the distance, one way or another. These guys are both very tough and very durable, but Trevor Peak comes for blood, and I'm really looking forward to this fight. I'm leaning to that Peak side, and I'm leaning to the fight doesn't go to the decision side.
Yeah, I think if you're on the fight doesn't go, it's got to be Peak, because you generally would say something like, what would you need to bring into the octagon to make this happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a submission. I think Trevor could probably be submitted if you were able to get to a dominant position on him. I mean, obviously, he's not a BJJ world champion or anything. This guy's a fucking scrapper. He doesn't probably have the technical proficiency on the ground that you could probably submit him if you were able to get to a dominant position. But yeah, man, I think that he's going to keep coming. I think he's going to do enough on the scorecards if it does go to decision. And I think he's the more likely guy to finish as well.
Love it. All right, well, make sure you guys are doing the right thing. It would be extremely messed up if you guys hadn't liked the video by this point. If you hadn't subscribed to our free weekly content, live every Thursday, the best bets, best guess, always free picks. Please, guys, please, show us some love out here. We don't ask for much, just a good time. So, with that being said, it's time to right your wrong, Jew versus Chris Taco Padilla. Oh, baby. We got a matchup of a lifetime. Wrong Zhu, he had a first opportunity. Now it's time to right his wrong Zhus. But Mr. Padilla comes in as a short notice opponent versus one Yontop and shows that, hey, if at first you don't succeed, then you just got to try again. Keep going for that takedown and back take. And sure enough, there it was, a nice little submission victory under the Christmas tree. Now, in this matchup, Wrong Zhu, he's had a tendency to get submitted here and there, just 3 or 4 times in his career. That's all. And then Mr. Padilla, I feel like, there's a scrappiness to his game. I like his wrestling. I like his grappling. I think Rong Zhu, oh yeah, right my wrongs. Let's go. But ultimately, I think it's tough. Rong Zhu, like, he's going to be the more aggressive striker, and I think that could leave him open to being in bad positions. He's still very young, still hasn't faced the best of competition. So I'm teetering on the dog shot side of Padilla, but I don't know. It's tough to pull the trigger here. I feel, if he didn't have that debut victory, I mean, the line might even be a bit sketchier here towards Rong Zhu. So it seems they might have priced it appropriately. I gotta see kind of Padilla. Very tough to find like real looks at what he's been doing in camp, and Rong Zhu does look like he has made at least some improvements. It's just I don't know when you're letting people get like their first career submission on you, and it's not even the round 3 aspect. It's also in round 1 when he almost has a mounted guillotine also. So Rong Zhu, I just don't trust you to stay out of these spots. So you're definitely not someone I'd be looking to parlay here. But man, if this fight does stay standing, I probably have to favor him. I think he's going to be the more aggressive pressure striker, and if he's able to stuff the takedowns of Padilla like he was doing on the Contender Series. It's just he's not the bigger guy in this matchup like he was in his last fight. So, goddamn, I feel like I just keep on talking myself onto the Padilla side. So
you just keep on talking. That's you keep doing.
I went for maybe
I'm just busting your balls, bro.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Enough.
Don't have to cry.
What do you got?
I don't know. I don't have a Chris Padilla taco here. Not going with tacos because I've already been bitten by James Yontop twice now. The dude is just not very good. And Rong Zhu, while it may seem like, just the other day he was getting choked out in round 3, Barbaro choke by Ignacio Bahamondes. Bahamondes got a fucking actually why didn't he get a bonus track? Oh, because it was really that bad of a fight. Because Rong Zhu really didn't look great. So it's been a while since we've seen him. But when you look at what he's done since he left the UFC, he's won fights by every which way. He's 4-0. Brought him back on road to UFC, knockout wins, right? Wins by round 3 rear naked choke. I just feel like he could outlast Padilla. And like you said, TV, we're really not exactly sure what Padilla has been up to, and that's not a good question mark. We do know what Rong Zhu's been up to. So I think he's going to right his original UFC wrong and be good here. But not somebody that I'm looking to lay money in. So kind of like we said at the top of the show, like interested to see this fight, but I am not putting my wallet anywhere near it.
I mean, who's going to right the wrong of that greasy ass Jerry curl that Chris Padilla's got in that picture, man? I mean, I don't know what the hell is that, dude. And then you add the mustache in there, and he looks like fucking Cheech. Dude, I don't know, man.
It's greasy taco.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that is a greasy ass haircut. That is a shady ass mustache. And taco is a really suspicious nickname. If I brought somebody home when I was a kid, hey, here's my friend Taco. I think my parents would be like, hey, get your friend Taco the fuck out of our house. Don't bring him over here anymore. But I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this fight, you guys, other than not bet on it. I feel like, just like I felt like I need more information on Yanal Ashmos at this level, I really feel like I need to know a lot more about Chris Padilla, how he's going to look at this level. Because when you bring in these road to UFC guys, it could be so disappointing sometimes when you see them styling on some Korean dude or, some Central Asian dude. And you're like, wow, he looks pretty good. And then he goes out there and, gets absolutely fucking destroyed by Kazula Vargas. You're like, what the hell just happened there? So some of these guys like Zhu Rong, you don't necessarily know how they're going to look against American level competition. There's a difference between Russian grappling, American grappling, and the rest of the world. And Brazilian too. Like somebody from Brazil, you know that they're probably going to know what they're doing on the mat. Somebody that's been in an American wrestling room, you know that they're going to know what they're doing on the mat. These Dagestani Russians, they're always great grapplers. Once you go outside of that, man, you don't know how it's going to translate at the UFC level. And I would just back the American blindly most of the time. So yeah, I'm not laying minus 250 on Rong Zhu. If he comes in with pink hair again, I might even bet Takeo Padilla. That doesn't matter how greasy ass that hair is. If Rong Zhu's got pink hair, plus 200, Chris Padilla.
I'd like to think that Taco can't, control how greasy his hair is, while Rong Zhu can control if he makes his pink or not. So it's going to be an IQ test, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see how fast we can Midwest choppa this breakdown. The Isaac Dolgarian experience minus 2,400 versus Brendan Marat, the kid, at plus 1,200. And they're setting the kid up for failure. So I don't know if you can find Dolgarian under 2.5 minutes or something like that. I mean, oh God, it's probably just, enjoy the death and the promos that they use to fill the content. Guru.
Listen, if you want to talk about fights, we can talk about the fight, right? But at the end of the day, we're kind of a bet show, and what are you betting on this fight? Like unless you're trying to bet over 1.5, trying to fade a narrative, there's no money to be made at all. And honestly, not for nothing, it's kind of the same thing I had said about the Michael Morales fight with Neil Magny. I kind of said the same thing and got away from it a little bit. It's like, hey, you're going to bet the fight, fade the narrative, and go Michael Morales.
Oh, God, you're terrible again.
Because the vibe.
You're terrible again. Weezy, what you got?
So yeah, I mean, obviously Dolgarian probably wins this by first round KO, but the point that I've always made, and I've said this a few times before, and I've been right, like ridiculously right. I remember saying before the Tom Nolan fight that, when he looks and he sees that he's plus 1,000 to win by decision and he's minus 500 on the money line, he's going to win this by decision, I said. When Jailton Almeida was fighting Derek Lewis, and I said, when this guy looks and he sees that the fight doesn't go to decision, it's minus 2,000, what's to keep him from getting a takedown early in each round, laying on top of him and doing nothing and winning a decision, and then going out with his buddies and having a steak? What about Jimmy Flick versus Nate Maness? You got a guy in Flick who's, been injured having Vaseline put on his face by the fucking cut man. And Nate Maness, a guy with all kinds of power, doesn't even go out there and try and knock him out. So the steakhouse bet of the week this week is Isaac Dolgarian by decision at plus 1,200. Because if Isaac wants to make some real money, he's going to make $12,000 for showing up. He's going to make $12,000 for his win bonus. And they're not going to give him a fight of the night bonus because he's fighting somebody that doesn't belong in the cage with him. So how does Isaac make money? Gets a takedown at the beginning of each round. He doesn't try to finish him. And he coasts the full 15 minutes, cashes the decision ticket at plus 1,200, and can take his show check, multiply it by 12, and put a down payment on a house. Isaac Dolgarian by decision plus 1,200. Not that I think he's going to win this fight by decision, but I think if he wants to win it that way, he could win it that way and make 10 times more money than he would normally.
It would be interesting. We've seen crazier things like one Tom Nolan and all that, shenanigans. So
yeah.
would not be too surprised, huh? So here we go. We're moving on. We've got the Guru coming back in the building here shortly, and he made it. But we've got Lipe Daytona at plus 145 versus Andre Mascote Lima minus 175. Oh boy, Weezy, let's pass it to you first. What do you got in this matchup?
Yeah, I kind of like Lima to win here. I think minus 175 is a little bit wide. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a little bit on the point deduction at plus 2,000 because Lima's a ridiculous cheater. The guy's probably going to show up 4 pounds heavy again because he's not really a flyweight. He's going to grab the fence if he gets taken down. He's going to poke his opponent in the eye and punch him in the nuts. And he's probably going to steal signs from the opposing dugout. I mean, this guy's going to do anything he can to go out there and cheat and win. But you don't lay minus 175 on a guy like Lima because he's so low volume. And a guy like Daytona is going to stay in his face and probably throw twice as many significant strike attempts. But really, at the end of the day, I think this fight looks an awful lot like Dos Santos versus Cobb. You saw Dos Santos drown Cobb in volume, but he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. And that when he did get into that pocket, Cobb was kind of picking him apart. So I think that this is going to look very much the same here. But I'm also kind of liking a Felipe Dos Santos plus 3.5 points handicap, because I don't think Lima's the kind of guy who's, like really getting way ahead of his opponents. And somebody like Dos Santos, who's going to be coming forward, who's going to be showing a lot more aggression and throwing a lot more volume, might keep this pretty close, but I'm still leaning to the Lima side.
Nice. Yeah. That's where I'm at too. Guru, what do you got?
Yeah. I don't know if my thing works, but
Better.
You sound way better, dude.
Way better.
Okay. Got him minus 110, Andre Lima. So
Nice.
I don't really have too much to say. Took 2 units there. Felt like at pick him, or even, a little bit higher than that he would have the wrestling upside. He has the durability. These Shudo box guys, they're exciting, but they don't win very many fights. So I'm on Andre Lima, but as we get wider and wider, I don't mind anybody doing anything they feel like they need to do. Honestly, the under 2.5 at plus 185, again, not that I want to go there, but it's just what are we doing? I mean, if you like Felipe Dos Santos, doesn't he need a finish?
Oh, wow. Look at that. You beat the dog father on the line movement, huh? Look at that.
Yeah, but he beats me with all his units, so it's all good.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, I feel you, man. I think the aggression of Dos Santos doesn't play into his favor here because Lima is going to be a bit more technical. He's used to working off the back foot, switching stances, and countering. And he's going to get a guy that brings it to him without offering a real takedown threat. So, yeah, he was talent, baby. He was talent. All right, so we're fishtailing off onto the next fight. We had a triple agreement there. Gotta love it. Now we've got the Leopard, Yija, versus Mosquitinho, Gabriel Santos. Just like his other friend, Yija, friends with Rongju, but, now he got rid of his leopard hair, just like Rongju got rid of his pink hair, hopefully. So maybe that means big things for Yija at this point, But the real question here is okay, so if the grappling negates for these guys, which it potentially could, what's the striking look like? I'm very interested because Gabriel Santos, very good scrambler, but maybe a bit too willing to play off his back. And you can kind of make the similar argument for Yija. He's going to look for takedowns, but if he does end up on bottom and if he does get reversed, he's going to be playing looking for subs and scrambles. So, I mean, it's not going to be a BJJ match where they both sit down and butt scoot towards each other. So, if this fight starts on the feet, neither guy really wants to engage in the grappling. Well, I think we'll probably have a bit of a closer striking match. And Santos is a guy where I've seen him get finished a couple of times like that, or one time like that by Onama, where you think he's cruising, he kind of slows down a bit, and it's lights out. Now, I don't think Yija offers that threat, but I'm not willing to really find out with Santos at minus 265. So I'm kind of listen, if the over wasn't so grossly overpriced, I'd be looking there. So, yeah, that's it. I'm okay to be dog or pass here and potentially not get to the dog side.
Yeah.
What do you think, Guru?
You're taking the words right out of my mouth. I really do feel like it's dog or pass. Yija, again, is another one of these guys that I don't think that he even technically had a UFC contract. I believe that maybe the fight with Jiang Li was win and you're into the UFC, lose and you're coming back to road to UFC.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all a kind of understood. They're going to retain your rights and you're set to still be in the UFC at some point. And again, dude goes 3-0 on road to UFC. And I just feel like it's fairly impressive. And you see a guy in Gabriel Santos who's now lost his last 2, getting laid on top of by David Onama, just not great, not a great look. But yeah, I just feel like the line is wide and Gabriel Santos needs a kind of a devastating finish here. And I'm not sure that he's going to find one against a fairly tough guy in young Yija. So Yeah. Not much. Not much. What do you think, Weezy? You selling us on something? You got a bill of goods to sell us? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, I'm lining up with you guys here. He's won 6 out of his last 7, has Yijia, and the loss was a fight that he actually won and won fairly dominantly. I don't know how the judges gave that to Jun Yong Lee. And even like the ref had to help Jun Yong Lee because there was a point in the second round where Yijia got a takedown and then he got 12-6 elbowed in the back of the neck. And then they stood him back up and they didn't give him his position back. So he got fouled and he got punished for being the one who got fouled. And it still didn't help Jun Yong Lee, but they gave him that decision. So like right now, Yijia is really on a 7-fight winning streak here. And he's, as far as I'm concerned, when I watch the tape on both of these guys, they're the same fighter. They both are pretty good at distance. They both mix in a ton of grappling. They both love to get takedowns and win minutes in control time positions. And when they're the one being taken down, they're both extremely active looking for submissions from their guard. It's just they're coming from 2 different parts of the world. And Santos is coming from a regional scene that's got a lot higher level competition than what Yijia does. So I think that's why this line is minus 265 Santos plus 215 Yijia. It's because people are like, well, I've seen Santos in there against Laron Murphy. I know how that looks. I've seen Santos in there against a killer like David Onama, and I know how that looks. The question is how does Yijia look against a fighter of Gabriel Santos's quality? And that's the question that we are really not quite sure how to answer yet. So I think Gabriel Santos is the rightful favorite in this fight. But when I watch the tape on Yijia, when I watch the tape on Santos, I see guys with very similar skill sets that should probably be closer to a pick 'em when you just look at what it is that they do well and how they fight. But because Santos has been tested at a higher level, because he's from the Brazilian regional scene and not the Chinese regional scene, that's why I think he's such a big favorite here. I think this should be more like Santos minus 150 and Yijia plus 120. So maybe a Yijia plus 3.5 points handicap. I know I sound like a broken record. I've been saying that all day already, and I'm probably going to say it again 1 or 2 more times. But yeah, I think that Yijia is going to keep this really close, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I totally agree. That, man, it's just you can't be betting the favorite here from a money line perspective, even if that's the way you're feeling. That's a strong feeling for me. So here we go. We're moving on. We've got Jacqueline the Arachnid Amorim versus Lil Monster Vanessa Demopoulos. Not bad, right? Not the worst I've done. All right, fair enough.
I get the long arms and kind of you're going with the what do they call that? Alliteration. I see.
Yeah, exactly. Not too shabby, right? I've done a lot worse. So, Jacqueline, the question here is how quick can you get a takedown and how dominant can you be with it without exerting too much of your gas tank? Because realistically, there should be a decent, there's a huge reach advantage, first off, about 9 inches. Then Amorim, she's also looking like she probably could land an early takedown. And given what Demopoulos has had happen to her in previous events, she gets taken down a ton. It's just like, well, when she's on bottom, she's a little monster. Like she's trying to throw up arm bars. She's throwing elbows from bottom. She's constantly active, trying to do stuff. But if you can kind of like range strike with her and keep her at distance and have a clean approach, well, that's how you win the fight, is having a clean approach. It's just Ducote. She couldn't avoid getting into these wild pocket exchanges. All these matchups where Demopoulos comes out of it, like Murata, for all the top time, for all the everything, what does she do with it? What damage does she cause? Because hers, she's the one that's bleeding. Her eyes busted open, whatever. So I get it. Robbery, Murata should have won, yada, yada, yada. But here we are again. It's Demopoulos in plus 2XX range. And, well, is Amorim going to win from distance? Do we trust her gas tank fully? It's like Amorim, kind of like the Steve Garcia experience. You're probably doing round 1, round 2 in my book. I don't think she's cleanly winning a decision without you clenching your butthole. So that's the real question. Good question here. So I think this is a question that I would have also, Wheezy. So as you're playing these point spreads, I find it tough to trust the judges, like in general. So if we're expecting like, you need all three judges to at least agree on one round typically, or spread out throughout the fight. So I'm curious, if it's been successful for you as well, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I it works for me because the short answer to that question is if you don't trust the judges, then stop betting MMA.
Right.
Because 50% of fights go to decision. So if you really are
Hmm.
worried about trusting the judges, you shouldn't be betting this sport. But the thing is these markets are becoming much sharper. So I'm finding that the plus 3.5 points handicap, whether I bet it or not, is a really nice indication of how close the judge or the bookies or the market thinks the fight is going to be, because the markets are getting sharper and you're seeing fighters that probably should be priced around minus 170 priced at around minus 250, right? So it's hard to lay that kind of juice on a favorite like that. But also consequently, like you got to realize that if that favorite that's minus 250 should actually be priced at minus 170, then what's the odds that the underdog wins one round? And then you're gonna find sometimes that plus 3.5 points handicap is way too juiced because the line is too close. That's when you bet the money line. And the other way around, sometimes you're just gonna find a money line that's just way too juiced. And then you're going to be able to bet that plus 3.5 points handicap. The best example I can think recently was the Hooker Gamrot fight. Gamrot doesn't beat anybody convincingly. I mean, like you either get hurt against him or you're a really bad grappler like Jeremy Stevens, or this guy crotch sniffs for 13 out of 15 minutes and he wins by that much on the scorecards. So like somebody like Hooker, who is completely, too cheap on the money line at plus 200, you could get him at plus 115 on the points handicap there. And that one cashed easily. And he not only, cashed the handicap, he straight up won the fight. So it's a great indicator. I think I would suggest, Dogfather, that you look at that prop for every fight that you think is going to go to decision and look at the divergence between the underdog and the plus 3.5 points handicap. And that will tell you what the market thinks of how close this fight is going to be. And oftentimes when you do that analysis, you're going to find some underdogs that stick out stylistically as to being able to cover that handicap.
Nice. Guru, what do you got in this spot here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting point and angle. I love the analytic part of it, Uncle Wheezy and Dogfather. For me personally, which is part of my handicap of this fight, I want absolutely positively nothing to do with betting on point spreads. Why? Because I'll give you two examples. One, you watch Dana White Contender Series on Tuesday, and you watch somebody get knocked out by a chick out of nowhere at plus 700, right? Like anybody can go to sleep, tear their ACL at any moment. So that's no fun. There goes your point spread bet. And then, of course, number two is that, and this is really my handicap of the fight, right? These judges, the three people that matter, not Twitter, not MMA decisions, not the collective, right? Not history, just the three crotch sniffing, crack smoking, nose picking judges. Those three people are the only ones that matter. So we can sit there. They'll give a round to Paul Felder against Rafael dos Anjos, right? They'll do anything they want. They don't give a fuck. So I want no money invested on that. Now, for this fight, I'm on Vanessa Demopoulos. Why? Because I think the fight goes the distance, and I think the judges are not going to be watching. You've seen Vanessa Demopoulos win a ton of close fights. I think this is going to be another close one. Unless the Arachnid, I do like the nickname, unless the Arachnid snatches her up into the web here and gets a sub, right? Like, I just don't know. If the grappling negates and it's striking, who the fuck knows? These judges are not watching. So give me the plus 300 dog. That's it. Rant over.
Love it. I'm with you on that side. Wheezy, what's your breakdown for the fight?
I'm going with the Amarim side here. She's the much better grappler, in my opinion. You're talking about a two-time world champion at the purple belt level at IBJJF. Whether she's on top or whether she's on the bottom, she's extremely aggressive with her submission attempts. And Vanessa, that's where she's most comfortable too. But I think that Amarim is by far the better wrestler. I think that's the big difference here. And the better wrestler is the one who dictates where the fight takes place. So I think that what's going to happen here is that if Jacqueline finds that she can easily win minutes on the feet here, that she won't even wrestle. And then she'll win a striking battle. And if that's not going well for her, I think that she can at any time get a takedown on Vanessa and win minutes on top. And I think she's going to actually win this fight by submission. We've never seen Vanessa at the UFC level fight anybody with the grappling pedigree that Jacqueline Amarim has. She's always been the better grappler, has Vanessa, or at least the more dangerous submission grappler, the more opportunistic. That's not the case here. And there's a big size advantage. And we've seen Vanessa get submitted a couple of times in these grappling competitions. And the difference between being submitted in a grappling competition and an MMA fight is if somebody knows how to blend their striking with their submission attempts as well as Jacqueline Amarim does, it makes it even more likely that you're going to be able to get that submission. Because in a grappling competition, you don't have to worry about being punched in the face. You can just defend the submissions. So the fact that Fatima Klein is going out there and submitting Vanessa Demopoulos, the fact that Aislinn O'Connell is going out there and submitting Vanessa Demopoulos, when I think Jacqueline Amarim probably submits both of those girls in grappling competitions, I think there's a wide enough gap here that we could actually see Jacqueline finish this fight by submission. And I agree with Dogfather there in that Vanessa doesn't have a get-up game. Guess what? Most jiu-jitsu players don't, because that's where they want to be in the first place. So Jacqueline Amarim doesn't have a get-up game either, actually, but she can go to half guard. She can get half guard sweeps and stuff like that. I think her get-up game, while not good, her sweep game's phenomenal, as is her submission attacks from the bottom. So I like Jacqueline any way this fight goes. I think the line is great where it is.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And as I said, if it's Amarim, it's probably early and it's probably by sub. So gonna consider the position, jumped in at plus 300 to just kind of place
jumped
hold.
in plus 300, mind you. DraftKings plus 250 is the steepest as it is, and I'm seeing plus 245 and 235 at FanDuel. So again, I feel like for as much as that is, the line has trickled a little bit closer.
Yeah. All right. We're moving on. We got Andre the Giant Petroski versus Dylan the Mindless Hulk Budka. Wrestler versus wrestler. Minus 278 Petroski, plus 225 Budka. Petroski's like 9 years older, which is interesting. Same height. Petroski giving up a couple inches of reach, but unlike a lot of the elder statesmen that Dylan Budka has fought on the regional scene, Petroski's not like 50 years old or whatever. Like, I think he's a reasonable age to be fighting in the cage here. And I was really impressed with when I watched back the Jacob Malkoun monstrosity of a finished loss. I was impressed with the fact that he does actually the one that landed the takedown in round one on a guy like Malkoun. I think it tells me I've seen Budka have success against people that can't really compete with him athletically. And Petroski's a fucking brick house. And if Budka tries to engage in the wrestling, I think the grappling of Petroski is what's going to be a big difference maker. But if this fight just plays out from distance, I think Petroski's the better, more powerful striker. And I get that there's kind of things about his chin that make you worried. But, I mean, Jacob Malkoun, that hip bone, I mean, that thing's got some power in it. So that was like one of the most bizarre finishes I've ever seen. But I think it was also the unexpected. You're not expecting to
saw it live too, by the way.
Yeah, that was like we had no idea what was happening. So I like Petroski. I like his striking if this fight plays out from distance for extended periods. Because even in the Frem fight, Frem had his best moments on the feet, but that doesn't mean Petroski wasn't having his own here and there. And I think Petroski is going to be a little bit of the better athlete. Now, I do get worried about the cardio. There's no way I'm playing minus 278 here. The over's already kind of juiced as it is, as I lean towards like a Petroski decision. So at the end of the day, this is probably one of those spots where you got to I have a few bets out on this card. We could recap them at the end, but this probably won't be one of them. So Because Petrosky by decision is plus 110, and that's no fun. What do you got here, Guru?
God, like, oh, bro, like, what are these lines? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm just gonna talk about the fight. Like, okay, and here I go. Andre Petrosky minus 278. Is he getting a finish? How does he cover this line? I don't know. Is he gonna smother him? Are the wrestling gonna negate? Is it gonna be the sloppiest striking fight you ever saw? Are they gonna spar? Which one is gonna get tired? Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, Andre Petrosky has shown a little bit more in the UFC and is probably the better wrestler. Like, I guess that's probably true. Yeah, there's just nothing I like. Like, would I be if you came back to me on Monday, and told me, yeah, man, were you Dylan Budka? He got the job done. Are you surprised? I'd be like, no, I'm not even a little bit. So, but it's just like there's just nothing. Somebody has to give somebody like nothing jumped out to me. There's no prop that jumps out. Like, I'm just really not interested. But I'm interested to see what happens. My goodness, am I interested to see what happens? But I've never felt this way before. Maybe it's just because football's back or something. Like, there's just like the whole card. Like, I'm not inspired to bet. Maybe I'm just deciding to be a little bit more diligent after all these years as well. Like, maybe I've hit a breaking point.
We've finally cracked the barrier in the I need to bet every single fight.
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there. And now I'm also I'd rather throw a shot on a dog, a shot on a dog, a shot on a dog than parlaying favorites or just doing other crazy things because it just leads to trouble. So, and I've been doing well lately. Like, I'm up many units this year. Like, everything's good, but I'm just trying to think more long term. So, not really interested in this from a betting standpoint. But yeah, somebody show me something. Andre Petrosky definitely knows he's fighting for his job. Like, bottom of the card here, Dylan Budka knew he didn't necessarily he got in by the skin of his teeth to begin with, right? The Chad Holcomb fight, everybody was calling for his head, but Dana White gives it to him because he's short notice, underdog, all that jazz that he likes to do. So, I mean, he landed one strike versus Cesar Almeida.
Yeah.
But Cesar Almeida's a dog. Cesar Almeida's a savage.
All right. Wheezy, what do you got here? Guru's been cooking a little too long. We're gonna have to get it off before it burns.
I love the unders here, you guys. Love the unders. I think that Petrosky is very live for a submission at any point in this fight. I love the way this dude blends his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu. He's a phenomenal grappler. He really is. And the bottom line is that Andre has to be a phenomenal grappler because his striking's solid, but you can't strike in this organization if you can't take a punch. And let me tell you something. Let's just throw away the hip bone KO. Let's throw away the fact that Pereira beat him. Talk about a couple other things. How about the fact that Jacob Malkoun had him on skates with a jab? Jacob Malkoun. I'm not talking about a jab from other middleweight fighters that have real power. I'm talking about a guy who's never knocked anybody out ever. Jacob Malkoun hurting him with jabs. How about in the Ultimate Fighter house when he claimed he got poked in the eye when he got kneed in the face? This guy just does not have the durability necessary to fight in this organization at distance striking range. So he's going to have to get takedowns. He's going to have to get control time, and he's going to have to work minutes in those situations. Dylan Budka's a good wrestler. He is. He's got a extensive college wrestling background, wrestled at Notre Dame College. Go watch this guy's fight, 5-round fight with Azamat Bekoyev, the current LFA middleweight champion out of American Top Team, who's a very good wrestler. Bekoyev was getting takedowns and winning minutes, but Dylan kept getting up, kept making him work. And in the 4th and the 5th rounds of that fight, Dylan's winning because Bekoyev can't take him down and hold him down, and because wrestling's exhausting. If you're doing it offensively and you're not able to hold your opponent down, it's going to be exhausting and you're going to get tired. So there's 2 things now that's a problem. If he's not able to take him down and hold him down, we know Petrosky's going to get tired because his conditioning is dog shit, as is the durability. So I like an early finish from Petrosky, potential front choke, potential choke, any kind of early submission. But I feel like if Budka's giving him problems, if Budka's making him work, if Budka's standing back up, if Budka's defending takedowns with Travis Brown style elbows, Dylan Budka by KO is plus 700 on DraftKings right now. And I promise you, you might not hit the bet, but if Andre Petrosky has another meme fucking KO loss here, like where he's getting put on skates with a jab or he's getting knocked out by a fucking hip bone, pretending he got poked in the eye when he just took a clean shot, you're going to be laughing your ass off. Laughing your fucking ass off if Dylan Budka knocks this dude out. So I've already got one unit on the under 2.5 rounds at plus 140. I've already got a quarter unit on Dylan Budka by KO at plus 700. I'm also going to be parlaying the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 125 with the under 1.5 rounds in the Steve Garcia fight. And I'm probably going to play some kind of Andre Petrosky round 1-2 submission prop. If this fight finishes in the first 2 or 3 rounds, man, I'm going to be stacking some units this week. Love the violence here. Of course, I could see it go into decision as well. It's MMA. Nothing's a lock, obviously, especially since more people think it's going to see the scorecards than not see the scorecards. But I definitely like this one to finish early. I'm thinking the official pick, Petrosky first round submission, but I'm looking for violence either way.
Yeah. Shout out to you guys in the chat. Absolutely phenomenal job keeping the party jumping. Wheezy, always bringing the energy. Absolutely phenomenal show to this point. Pink Floyd, I get it. Talking about this awesome parlay, betting 2 faves in a parlay, multiplying out the 65% probability. I did the math myself to check it. It's about 42.25%. Versus if you think that there's a dog that has a probability to win at 35%. The thing is, you have to identify the dog that has a higher probability of winning than what their line actually is. Dan Hooker. All right, so
God, I love that bet. I was all over that fucking bet. Ugh.
Yeah, definitely could be overlooked. That's pretty solid getting in at the plus 280. And you never know. It could be cute. So, like I said, I'm not touching Petrosky. You would have to do dirty things to me to get me to touch Petrosky in this fight, and I'm not going to do it. So, yeah, I agree. Hey, listen, everyone's got their styles too, so I appreciate everyone bringing theirs out here to chat. And here we go. We're bringing it back, baby.
We're not breaking it down. Go back to last week's card. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm saying, like, all right, listen, we have tough enough time getting people out here live. All right, now go back and search into this other week's video. I know. I was thinking about it earlier that it was funny too if we would say that.
But nothing changes. Nothing changes except the line. We got plus 140 last time.
Yeah.
Plus 140 never existed this time.
Right.
Now plus 120 maybe. Now he's plus 110. Dude is huge. He's the one that's competed up at welterweight. Nathan Fletcher's the one that's competed down at bantamweight. I just come on, man. I just don't see it. Nathan Fletcher. How many times do I got to tell you about the Cage Warriors fade until you all learn about it? I told y'all Will Curry. I told y'all. Okay. He had staph last week. He has to cut weight again. He's taking antibiotics. They called off the fight. Give me the praying mantis.
Let's go. He likes another nickname on the card. We got the Zigomantis, the praying mantis, Ramashka, versus next generation Nathan Fletcher, the Patty Pimblett gym that he trains out of. This is what you get when you don't come up with your own nicknames, people. You get the TV experience. I hope you've all enjoyed. But yeah, I'm upset I don't have that plus 142 anymore. And I got fucking plus 114 this time because it's a fantastic time to be on the praying mantis side. When you watch Tough, he beats the #1 overall pick from the Grasso team in the first fight, and then he can't make the next fight because he had a fractured face from getting obliterated in the first round against that #1 pick. But what does he show? He's got no quit. He's the praying mantis. He's coming out to party. He's gigantic.
I see. Like, I liked it because that's awesome with his name. But like, I think scientifically, like I'm pretty sure the male praying mantises like get eaten by the female after mating. Like I don't think it goes
Maybe
well
he's
for
the
them.
female praying mantis that's evolved into the male. You never know. This could be this
That's what
crazy
you
version.
do. I don't know if
Jesus
that's what he
Christ.
does.
All right. Well, anyways, praying mantis all day here. I think he's got the volume. I think he's going to have the better gas tank than Fletcher. And I don't think Fletcher can just take this guy and hold him down. Zigomantis, big dude, annoying from bottom. While he could play there for too long, he's annoying, and it's going to be tiresome to try to hold him down. So, yeah, we'll see, man. I think overall, give me Zigomantis Ramaska 1 unit this time because the line's not quite as good. Uncle Wheezy, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm picking Ramaska by decision here. I think that this is going to be a close fight. Nate's going to have a hard time trying to hold this guy down, but he's going to be able to do it for stretches because Ramaska doesn't have the best takedown defense, and his get-up game is even worse. Like, you watch some of those fights in Blade fights, I don't know who the referee was, and I don't know what the rule set was, but he was taking Ziggy out of mount. I mean, like this guy Iraq had Ziggy mounted twice, and one time he had him mounted for about 6 seconds. The guy said work and then stopped and then pulled him off of him. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, man, in the UFC, they're not pulling you out of mount, especially when you were working. You know, so I don't like the fact that Ziggy can get stuck on bottom and that his opponent in Fletcher is somebody that relies on getting control time, getting to your back, getting takedowns in order to win minutes and bank rounds and win fights. So I think that this is going to be kind of back and forth. I think there's going to be a lot of grinding, a lot of cage pushing, a lot of Fletcher really leaning on Ramaska trying to get takedowns. And I could see Ramaska getting a finish here. I like the Ramaska finish only. I don't think that Fletcher is going to be submitting him. I mean, he could, obviously, but I think that Ramaska finish only prop is a great look this week, as is Ramaska potentially by decision or just the money line. I think they're the best ways to play him this week.
Love it. Love it. Ziggy time. Live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Absolutely phenomenal time with all the best people in the best chat here, even Boxing Wizard. Thanks for being a part of the death of MMA. Appreciate having you in the chat. You're really living it up. Fletcher getting a shot after losing at the Tough House. Yeah, I guess. We'll see.
And honestly, doesn't he just get the shot because he's training with Meatball Molly and Patty? Why is he getting the shot over at somebody else?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, doesn't really make sense. But I don't know. I appreciate breaking the card down with all you guys out here. Absolutely awesome time. Make sure you're joining us next week. Guru and Mr. 4 Ounce of Freedom, they'll be doing their thing, breaking down Contender Series for you. Make sure you guys are following that. I will see you back in the building Thursday to break down Noche. I can't wait to see all you people there. Wheezy, before we pass it off to the Guru to do the proper closing here, what do you got going on? What would you like to share with the people? And thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Thanks for having me on. You can check me out on my YouTube channel, Uncle Wheezy. I'll be going live tomorrow afternoon to give out a greasy 4-leg parlay for this card after the weigh-ins happen. So once all these fights become official, we'll pick out 4 fights to parlay together, get you a nice plus 600 or 700 that we can gamble on. You can also check me out at my Patreon and my Dub Club, where I'm doing about 4 hours of subscriber-only content every week. Right now, I've got about 75 pages of notes on these fights this week. I go balls deep researching these fights into all the statistics that I make available on my stats packages. In addition to that, I watch all the tape. I give extensive write-ups on every fight. I have betting models for prop bets. I have betting models for over-under bets. And I've got every UFC fighter's career statistics, fight by fight, and the aggregates for every possible metric statistic that you could possibly imagine for the UFC. So for $25 a month, I offer this information package to MMA gamblers who do their own research and who want to have access to the best possible statistics, analytics, and tape study so that they can make better decisions in the long run and that we all together can be long-term winning gamblers. So let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 97. Bathe in some bookie blood and enjoy these fights.
Man, it always feels good to finish breaking down a fight card. But I really got to be honest. I'm sad this one has come to a close because it means I won't get to chat with Uncle Weezy about the fights. And I fucking love having you on, Uncle Weezy. Anytime, man, you want to come on, anytime you might need us. Just love chatting with you, man. I wish, hopefully one day we'll make it out to Chicago. So we gonna have to link up. You're gonna come to New York City, man. We got to do something because the vibe is too immaculate. Seriously, thanks so much for joining us. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. We love breaking down fights. We love doing the pod. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you follow my incredible co-host, TB Scouting MMA, over on Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, Tapology, Pickett, and Bet MMA. And you can follow me, the Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, Pickett, Tapology, and Bet MMA. We will see you next week. No, we won't. Yes, we will. We are in the fucking sphere. Oh my goodness. We're in the sphere for UFC Noche. Sean O'Malley taking on Merab Dvalishvili. And like TB said, don't forget Dana White Contender Series Monday night. And